All right, so former governor of Alaska, Sarah, I can see Russia from my backyard, Palin, has gone on Newsmax and took it upon herself to describe what a cult is and why the left is actually a cult, not Donald Trump's following. But the reasons that she gives why the left are a cult sound a lot to me like the modern day right and MAGA supporters. But before we get into that, be sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel because it helps us out a lot with the algorithm. All right, so we're going to jump into the video here. I'm going to play it all the way through one time, and then we'll watch it again, and I'll be pausing it and letting you know why each of these different reasons she brings up is actually the right. That is cult-like.
Election. I want you to listen to this, and I want to get your opinion on the back end. Listen here.
The response that we've seen in polling from Republicans suggests that they're going to stick with him, that it's more of a cult than a political party at this point, and they're going to stick with their leader. So I think that actually President Biden is in a very strong position to run a campaign that doesn't have to talk about him. But I think other Democrats should, and other, concerned Americans should be asking hard questions.
Well, she's right about that. We should be asking hard questions. And, I was with the Trump motorcade yesterday, and I would say that the people at Versailles at the Cuban restaurant, I wouldn't call them cult members, would you?
I would.
No, the definition of a cult is a group of people who are excessively supporting one another and a cause, all about conformity and compliance and intolerance of anyone who doesn't agree with what their mission is. Okay, that's the definition of what the left is engaged in right now. Speaking of cults, all about conformity and compliance, and heaven forbid you don't agree with them. But Hillary Clinton, okay, this is rich. This is rich. She is so delusional, bless her heart. She is so delusional.
Okay.
I wouldn't call them cult members, would you?
No, the definition of a cult is a group of people who are excessively supporting one another and a cause.
Group of people who are excessively supporting one another and a cause. Does that sound to anybody like what happened on January 6th? Was that a group of people that were excessively supporting a cause? So excessively to the point that they were willing to commit acts of violence against police and elected members of our government and get themselves in legal trouble and get themselves even killed? Is that not excessive adornment for a cause and one person? What else is? I mean, we had thousands and thousands and thousands of people who attempted to overthrow a legal, democratically held election. And if it wasn't for the quick thinking of a few police officers, including Eugene Goodman, who knows what could have happened? It could have gotten really bad, okay? I mean, it did get really bad, but it could have gotten even way worse than it did if it wasn't for Eugene Goodman. So when has the left attempted to overthrow a democratically held election? I haven't seen that from the left. That only happened on January 6th with the MAGA supporters.
It's all about conformity and compliance and intolerance of any.
Okay. Conformity and compliance. So you mean like how Adam Kinzinger and Liz Cheney and Mitt Romney and others are now rhinos because they have a point of view that differs slightly from the MAGA narrative, and they are willing to call out Trump on certain aspects, even though they agree with 85-90% of everything else that Trump has done. Let's look at Liz Cheney's voting record. She voted with him on 93% of bills. Okay? But they're willing to call the violence on January 6th out as being ridiculous and unnecessary and provoked by Trump and a harm to our country. But And that's enough to get them labeled as rhinos, Republicans in name only. These are people who have been in the Republican Party for God knows how long, decades and decades and decades in many cases, and have a legacy of conservative policy that has been implemented and has done great harm to our country, by the way. So it seems to me that the MAGA cult has no problem kicking out members of their own once they go a little bit off of their narrative. How is that not demanding total and complete compliance for Donald Trump, or you're a MAGA traitor and you're a rhino? It's the right that does that, Sarah Palin. It's the right.
Compliance and intolerance of anyone who doesn't agree with what their mission is. Okay.
All right, and intolerance with anybody that doesn't agree. What about the Bible? What about religion? What about how the right sees Christianity and sees the Bible as being the correct way to live? And this is the way to live, and every word in here is sacred. And if you're going to live life in any way that goes against it, well, you're now considered to be not part of the group anymore. Like, LGBT people have been ostracized from their families in so many instances, from conservative families, based on religious beliefs, okay, that homosexuality and gayness and transgender people is somehow wrong or morally wrong or just not natural, you know? Well, why is it not natural? Well, it's because they're basing their beliefs off of their religion. So how is it the left that's intolerant suddenly when you have many people on the right who are ostracizing others based on their own religious beliefs that they feel are the correct ones? I mean, it's pretty astounding that Sarah Palin would have the audacity to say that it's the left that's intolerant when the right does every single one of these things. And here's another thing, is that in terms of compliance, Biden gets criticized every freaking day in the left media. I mean, every day there seems to be some sort of new criticism of Biden. And it's not just from the right, it's from people on the left as well. But guess what? People that criticize Biden on the left, they're not just deemed as being, we're just going to whisk them away into, they're not one of us anymore because how dare they say something against our supreme leader? No. If criticism of Biden can make him a better president, and if we can accurately praise the things he does right and criticize things where he could do better, well, that's going to make the country a better place. It has nothing to do with how Biden feels about it, or whether or not somebody is directly criticizing Biden or not. Okay? Because it's not a cult. We're willing to hear people out. We're willing to be open to criticism, and we have a big umbrella. Okay? Like, for instance, we have people like Joe Manchin, who in a lot of countries would be considered a conservative, who's in fact a Democrat, and then all the way on the far left of figures like Ilhan Omar and AOC and the Squad. Okay? So there's not intolerance. There's not ostracization of of the left. Okay, we disagree a lot, and we don't see eye to eye to things all the time. But that's what makes our party stronger, because we can come to an agreement. this side gives a little, this side gives a little, and in the end, we get something that everybody is at least can be okay with. Okay, like look at the not the infrastructure bill. I'm sorry, the debt ceiling bill that was just passed. Not everybody on the left loved it. Not everybody on the left loved it, but we understood that it's what's had to be done to avert a disaster, as well as minimize the damage to our country from the economic fallout of a default. Okay, we're not out here calling for Biden to be burned at the stake because we didn't get every single thing we want in the debt ceiling bill, because we know that's how negotiations work, and we know we're not petulant children who either get our way completely or it's you flip the board over and walk away and cry. That's not how we are. That's what the right does. So yeah, I'll go ahead and end it there. Sarah Palin, let's just be really glad that this woman did not become vice president. That would have been bad. But yeah, that's all I got for you guys in this one. I want to thank you for watching the video. Again, please be sure to like and subscribe to the channel. It helps us out a lot. And I'll catch you in the next one. All right, peace.